Number 4, we've got a couple of words that help us identify our conclusion and our premises. The word therefore is a conclusion indicator, so the sentence that follows that is our conclusion, and the sentence that precedes the conclusion indicator is one of the premises. And we see the word and here joining that statement that is one of the premises to another statement, indicating that that statement is the other premise. Now, I chose as the terms for my argument as follows. W represents people who wrote the Declaration of Independence. B represents people who had a big impact on civilization. T represents people identical to Thomas Jefferson. If you use different letters to represent your terms, you want to make a cross-reference for yourself so that you can compare your argument to mine. Okay, so when we write this argument out in standard form categorical propositions, the conclusion looks like this. All people identical to Thomas Jefferson are people who wrote the Declaration of Independence. Our second premise looks like this. All people identical to Thomas Jefferson are people who had a big impact on civilization. And the first premise looks like this. All people who wrote the Declaration of Independence are people who had a big impact on civilization. It's worth noting here the word whoever. That word, whoever, however, whenever, wherever, whatever, those kinds of words indicate to us that whatever follows is going to serve as the subject term of our standard form categorical translation. You can see that reflected right here in this first premise. All people who wrote the Declaration of Independence, whoever wrote the Declaration of Independence. All right, so now we represent the argument symbolically, and it looks like this. We've got an A statement for the first premise, A statement for the second premise, and an A statement for the conclusion. If you used different letters to represent this argument, that's fine. You just want to make sure that we have the same conclusion statement being represented here. And so you should have A in figure 2. Our middle term is over here in the predicate position of both of our premises. When we create our Venn diagram for this argument, it looks like this. We've marked all T are B to show the second premise. We marked out areas 5 and 6. And to show the first premise, all W are B, we shade in areas 6 and 7. And we notice something. We do not see the conclusion statement in this diagram. All T are W. No. Maybe there's some T over here in area 2. And if there are, it wouldn't be the case that all T are W. Now, maybe there's not any T in area 2. In which case the conclusion would follow, but we don't know if there's nothing in area 2. So the conclusion could be true, could be false. If it's possible for it to be false, even when we assume the premises are true, the argument is invalid. We can figure out what's going hinky with this argument by applying the 5 rules of categorical syllogisms. We identify our distributed terms. The first rule of categorical syllogism says that the middle term has to be distributed at least once. B is our middle term, and it's not distributed. So the fallacy that causes this argument to be invalid is undistributed middle. We can check that against our inventory, and we'll see that A figure 2 does not appear in either of our inventories because the argument is invalid.